Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. John Hagee has been a pastor for many years. Imposing presence in the realm of Christian evangelism with his blazing sermons that consistently support Israelis, an organization that encompasses millions of Hagee's following has grown to be a household name among the religious community. But after the persona whispers in the pulpit and the public of debate and conjecture have, what secrets trailed him like a shadow lie beneath this? What are the truths of a charismatic preacher's life? Has he been shielded from his congregation worldwide at the age of 84 following? Pastor, years of deflection and silence. At last, John Hagee has come out to confront the rumors, the uncertainties and thackeries that have persisted for a very long time. His revelations go beyond simple confessions. This discovery has the potential to change all of the information we believe to be true about him. Are you prepared to learn the truth? For years, there had been murmurs that the man of God, Pastor John Hagee, stated that there was more to the narrative reviewers' direct to his dubious claims made by his extravagant way of life and his political connections as proof of hypocritical backers on the however, defended him as a loyal Lord's servant, a guy who had committed his life to promoting the gospel. Yet the inquiries continued, and with each passing day, the rumors became louder. Annual period. Then in a startling change, Hagee sat down for an intimate, occasion interview with a prominent news organization. The scene was a small, peaceful room in his cornerstone of a big church in San Antonio. The cameras rolled as the church. The question posed by the interviewer had Pastor Hagee has been on everyone's mind. What is the one after all these years? Something you haven't mentioned to your Hagee paused his face in the congregation. A range of feelings for a brief period of time. It appeared to be in danger of deflecting as he having previously done so numerous times. But then, leaning forward, he started talking. I've done some things in my life that he acknowledged. I'm not proud of choices I've made, statements I've made, things I now realize I should have spent years of attempting to explain and defend them, people away. But in reality, I've created. I need to take responsibility for my faults. The revelation was startling, not just due to what he stated, but due to the unadulterated sincerity in his speech. Was not the polished, self-assured preacher. The world had learned to actually comprehend this moment. But one must, John, return to the starting point. Hagee's path to become among the America's most influential pastor was not your typical child. Was born in 1940, and he was up in Baytown, Texas, in a pious. William, his father, lived in a Christian home. Pastor Bal Hagee, and his mother Vodie Swick Hagee was a housewife who worked at gave him a strong affection for the Hagee, felt the Bible from a young age, appointed to the ministry, and by the time he was already preaching while he was a teenager at nearby churches. But his journey too. There were obstacles in the way of success. Hagee attended Trinity in the 1960s, San Antonio University, where he obtained a degree in English history. Thereafter worked toward a master's degree in administration of education from the North Texas University. During this, when he wed Martha, his first wife, Downing had 2 kids with the couple. However, the union was tense with challenges, and they got divorced in 1975. Choice that would eventually become into the dispute over Hagee's big break occurred when he established Cornerstone in 1975. San Antonio Church, that began as AA tiny group, swiftly expanded into a megachurch made possible with Hagee's dynamic style of preaching and his capacity to establish a personal connection with others. Additionally, he started airing his sermons on television, reaching millions of nationwide audience by the 1980s. Hagee was now a well-known personality in evangelical movement, which is renowned for its. His sermons weren't filled with audacious claims. They were merely religious precepts. Whether he was speaking to headline makers in global politics in the United States occasions or pop culture, Hagee was able to draw attention to his messages, were audacious, unrepentant, and occasionally contentious, but they struck a chord. Hagee's influence extended beyond the US boundary via John Hagee Ministries discourses in more than 200 nations, covering the continents of Asia and Africa. His message from Europe to South America: faith, optimism, and a steadfast dedication. I've long held the view that the Hagee remarked, "Gospel is for everyone. It makes no difference where you're from, what you've done, or the language you speak. Both God and His love are global." Message, his backing of Israel turned into a foundational element of his ministry. In 2006, Christians United for Israel was created by him. SUI, which has subsequently developed into one of the biggest pro-Israel groups in the globe with more than 10 million Hagee members who support Israel, was more than just a personal conviction. It was Israel's divine calling. Is the canary in what? The coal-mining Hagee frequently says, Israel's fate impacts the entire. As Christians, the world is our obligation to support Israel, rather than only because it's morally correct. However, since God demands it, he has received appreciation for his audacious stance and critique. Others view him as a prophet in the modern day, fulfilling scriptural forecasts regarding the recovery of. Others claim that his role in Israel crosses the line in political affairs. Hagee, but I'm still not sorry. I've been referred to by several names. Over in an interview, he laughed about the years. However, I've never been referred to as uninterested. Regarding Israel, I'm Alinov, of course, no megaphone-wielding preacher. In Hagee's instance, a worldwide broadcast avoids criticism over the years. His outspoken opinions have sparked debate on everything from LGBT+ issues to politics rights to predictions of the end times and the Christianity's place in America. He has been charged with anti-Semitism by detractors. Comments in spite of his steadfast backing one of the most severe storms ever to hit Israel. 2008, when the then candidate for President John McCain openly disapproved of Hagee's support following the re-emergence of a video revealed the preacher making contentious comments against the Catholic Church. The Hagee was pushed, and the response was swift. I've put myself in damage control mode. Errors, he acknowledged in a 2010 interview, adding that although I'm not flawless, I've always made an effort to improve and learn from my failures, both personally and as a preacher. But education was not able to stop Hagee from returning to the political arena. When the 2016 presidential election, as the election approached, Hagee threw his complete backing for Donald Trump, the invocation being delivered at the Republican National Convention justification for his belief that Trump's company, his background qualified him as the ideal leader for. Naturally, not everyone in the nation acknowledged that many accused him of leveraging his using a pulpit to advance a party's agenda. Some questioned his strong relationship with some politicians. But Hagee, always the straight shooter, persisted. I have no regrets, and have never been scared to, he said, speak my mind, but I've always tried to accomplish this in a manner that's in keeping with my beliefs. My objective has never been able to prevail in political conflicts. It's been to further God's kingdom. Despite the disputes, Hagee's, his sermon's effect has only increased. His publications fly to millions of people globally, away from the shelves, and his ministry keeps growing in influence and scope. However, as his profile rises, the inquiries concerning his reasons, is he a preacher foremost, or possesses his function as a public leader, obscured the lines for spotlight and every sermon at times. A portion of John Hagee's style that many people are unaware of the struggles battled in secret during the early. The 2000s saw one of the worst periods in his life, at which his wife Diana Hagee received a cancer diagnosis for a man renowned for his unwavering trust. In the news came like a ton of bricks. It was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do, Hagee acknowledged, seeing a loved one. Suffering like that transforms you. At the moment, you doubt everything. Hagee served as the leader of Cornerstone Church, San Antonio congregation, with 20,000 members, Texas, while simultaneously handling his worldwide. He was a television ministry to the world, a stronghold of faith, remaining firm in his convictions, but in private, he was a husband, attempting to maintain his composure while observing his true love. I had to be strong to battle for hers. Diana for my congregation and my family. He remembered, although on some evenings, too, felt like I would just cry and break down, felt though I was failed everyone. Diana hadn't done enough for years, fought cancer, and was Hagee for years. Balancing his pastoral obligations, a husband and a leader attempting to prevent, he is terrified, yet no amount of scripture or preaching may protect him from the weight of everything I learned, because regardless of how powerful you believe you, are you unable to complete it alone? You need faith. You need, Hagee thought, prayer. And you require the assistance of the thank you, Diana, to everyone around you, ultimately recovered, and during the storm passed, leaving a permanent mark on Hagee's ministry, life, and sermons gave. His words are renewed, a deeper meaning, conviction that he had consistently advocated for faith throughout difficult circumstances, but he had now survived in the most intimate manner imaginable, and his impact grew steadily. So did the difficulties that accompanied it, since if John Hagee had discovered, whatever it was, faith might move. Mountains, but the ascent is not. John won't be cruel for more than 60 years. There has been one consistent element throughout Hagee's life and his marriage to his wife. Diana has served as the foundation of a family that has expanded to encompass 5 kids and many grandchildren, each carving out their own distinct roots. Yet as a loyal father and husband, while jogging a global ministry, which is the Hagee, has always been the difficulty, minimizes the reality that his unrelenting, concentrating on his work, frequently meant that family always comes first, and I've always been such prioritized my ministry, which I haven't been there for my family no matter what. Ought to have been, he acknowledged. I regret it, but I'm making an effort to compensate for it now, in spite of the difficulties of juggling his family and career. Children have prospered independently. Matthew Hagee, his son, has entered a position of authority as the senior pastor of Cornerstone. Church is continuing the spiritual heritage of his family, whereas his Tucker's daughter, Tish Hagee, has discovered achievement as a speaker and writer, using her voice to motivate others. But Hagee quickly makes it clear that his children aren't just copying him, they are paving their own routes with their footsteps. He said, "I'm proud of all my children. Each of them has discovered their own vocation and they're changing their own lives. The only thing a father could hope for John preaching, was insufficient on its own." Hagee was aware that faith need to be more than words. It ought to result in action. That conviction prompted him to go beyond the pulpit and establish a force for humanitarian causes. By way of John Hagee, ministries throughout his organization has provided funding for years, innumerable projects worldwide concentrating on everything, including construction hospitals and schools to supply disaster assistance during the first crisis. Of the most significant instances of his Africa's humanitarian efforts for more than a John Hagee Ministries has been running for 10 years. Earth in some of the most regions of the continent that are underserved, digging wells to finance clean water medical missions and teaching to thousands of people who wouldn't have any availability of essentials. When I traveled to Africa, I was astounded by the Hagee needed to reflect, but I was also motivated by the tenacity of steadfast trust and the absolute determination of the individuals there. Minded me that despite how challenging, despite appearances, there is always hope, and he's been acting with hope, delivering from schools that are being constructed for Kenyan children to receive medical supplies for Nigerian hospitals. Hagee. The ministry has put up a lot of effort to improve communities. His dedication to Jewish communities around the world have likewise gained. He received a lot of attention in 2019, received the Humanitarian Award from the year-end honor from the International Christian Jewish Fellowship for his endeavors to assist individuals in need. However, if you ask Hagee about his accolades, he will, like dust on a church bench, brush them away. He stated that it's not about recognition, about changing things. If we can assist only one individual, then it's all worthwhile. Pastor John Hagee is currently 84 years old, prepared to reveal something that he's never discussed in public in an uncommon no-holds, refused to participate in a major news interview. Outlet. Hagee revealed the details of his ministry, his personal hardships, and one revelation that has caused concern. I've spent years of my life with him. Hagee acknowledged preaching the gospel, but something I've never discussed, on a matter that has been on my heart for a while. I believe it's finally time to tell the world about it. What came next was an epiphany that left even his staunchest fans in disbelief, despite his domineering presence in the background. Hagee, the pulpit, acknowledged that he has wrestled all of his life. There have been instances of uncertainty. After I've questioned all he said, I've occasionally questioned whether I was actually changing things, if I was actually for years. God called me to bear the burden of those uncertainties' insolence that prevents them from appearing in the vulnerability. In the televangelism world is not particularly recommended at this time. Even one of the most shuttered doors in America, powerful pastors, had difficulties. Using the same faith that he advocated while his support for Israel has long been his ministry's cornerstone. Hagee showed that it wasn't merely a religious stance, it was individual. The 1970s saw a turning point. During a journey to Israel, I found myself standing on the Mount of Olives overlooking Jerusalem, and I experienced this tremendous feeling. Hagee remembered that feeling of peace felt as if God were communicating to me directly, claiming that I was meant to do this speak for Israel, but possibly the most unexpected disclosure occurred when Hagee stated how he frequently feels, feeling alienated in the evangelical, I've never truly fit in with this community. Hagee's conventional evangelical congregation acknowledged that I've always been a little maverick is somewhat rebellious, and that's caused me to be criticized, but I've never allowed that to deter me from pursuing my goals. Think is correct, regardless of whether it was his vocal backing for Israel, his ferocious sermons, or his unrepentant position on Hagee has always walked the political fence. Some people respect him for taking a different route. He receives criticism from others, but if there is one back down at something, he's never done. The majority of people would consider retiring, perhaps finding a peaceful, reflective life, not John Hagee. I'm not done yet, he responded resolutely. Grin. There's still a lot of work to be done. Completed a large number of people who must hear the gospel. Provided that God grants me the strength, I'll continue. And his intentions. They have as many aspirations for the future as ever. Hagee is putting more effort into technology that uses social media in real time, podcasts, and streaming to reach a worldwide viewer. The world is evolving, and we must adapt to it, he clarified. Podcasts that stream on social media. These are the future's instruments, and we're intending to use them for gospel propagation, more than ever for John Hagee. The task is not yet complete, and history has demonstrated anything. It is when he focuses his attention on nothing except age, time, or even criticism cannot obstruct his path for Hagee. It's not only about following trends, it's about reaching the greatest number of individuals with more than 8.5 billion people worldwide. Hagee thinks that technology holds the secret to spreading his message over the world, that his ministry has already embracing internet and live streaming preaching. But he's going farther. There are preparations underway to launch digital encounters that are interactive, new podcasts, and broader social media outreach to attract younger audiences, but technology is just one aspect of the strategy. Hagee is aware of the prospects for the next, is in charge of the church generation, and he's giving it top attention. I've been fortunate enough to have, according to Hagee, a lengthy and successful ministry, but I am aware of how limited my time is. I'm concentrating on mentoring because of this. Preparing the pastors of tomorrow. They are the leaders and future of the church, and I wish to confirm that they're prepared. Via the Hagee Ministries, he's directly enrolled in Leadership Academy, putting money into young pastors' offerings, advice, tools, and chances to fulfill his objective of raising 100 new leaders who are going to convey the message that even more faith than he has